Hey everybody, Tony D with a screenwriter's take on a movie called Alive. It's a Korean zombie movie. You know how much I love my zombie movies. I'm also listing it under a screenwriter's rant. All my screenwriting stuff seems to be collapsing into that. So just so I can have it on the site, I will list it under the rant as well. So Alive is pretty much a zombie movie, but it is also a survival movie, and it leans a little bit more to the survival aspect than the zombies, which I kind of liked because the zombies were done very well. They were very creepy. They were the running kind, or I should say the lunging kind, but no, they did some running. But they were, they had this weird thing where they would transform and you would hear their bones crack and they were like, kind of like that. And they would bleed from their eyeballs and a bunch of other creepy things. The main character, and oh, by the way, this is the non-spoiler review, and then I'll get into the spoiler part. So the non-spoiler review is, it's a pretty decent movie. Now, if I had to compare it to another Korean zombie movie, Train to Busan, it's pretty good. Train to Busan is more of a zombie movie in the classic sense, in that it's focused more on the zombies and a lot of different characters. This is more of a, to some extent, like a character study, partly, and that kind of made it more interesting to me. It made it a little more intimate because I really felt invested in the two characters. Mainly, the first act focuses on Jun-u. I think that's how you say his name. Or Jun-u. Jun-u, I think, is his name. I think the surnames are different in Asian countries. So I think it's Jun-u. So he is a typical, I think he's probably about 20, maybe he's in high school. And he lives with his parents and his sister in an apartment, in conditions that probably in America would seem a little tight, but, in South Korea, it was, it's pretty much the norm, is my understanding. And, they seem like middle-class people. You don't really see the family. You kind of see pictures of them and hear them over the phone, but you don't actually really interact with them in the movie. But Jun-u is like a gamer kid. He's into drones, and he's not ready for this, which makes it really interesting. The last sort of message he gets from his dad is, "You must survive," or one of the last messages, I should say. "You must survive," and he kind of takes that to heart. And it's about his transformation, going from a kid who seems completely inept in this situation, in a survival situation, to more of a surviving kind of, I know what I'm doing sort of guy. So I like that transformation, and I like watching it because the movie takes its time. It doesn't like jump from one thing after another. It's not one of these breathless zombie movies where it's like, okay, we gotta get to the next thing. It takes its time developing him, and then introducing, I can't say her name, but her last name's Kim. It's like Kim UK, I think UK. But she is in another apartment across the way, and that's how they kind of meet. They kind of could see each other. And, the apartment complex is really tight and tough to get out of because they're both on upper floors, and there's just so many zombies around. There's just too many. The ending, I will say, without giving it away, I think it was satisfying. I felt satisfied by the ending. I think the movie was a solid entry overall. It concentrated less on the zombies, but when the zombies were in it, they were pretty crazy. They were pretty crazy. So how would I rate it? I guess I would give it, probably out of 10, I would give it at least like a 7 or 8. Yeah, I would say I kind of lean towards Train to Busan, which is just nuts. Um, as a little better. I forget what I gave that. I think I gave that probably like closer to a 10. But um, this movie was really solid, and I liked it because it wasn't all about the damn zombies, and it didn't really get too clever with things. It is what it is. It was very nice and straightforward and simple. And then when it got complex, it was really well done. So that concludes my non-spoiler review. So now let me get into analyzing it sort of act by act. Okay, and if you want to see the movie, it's on Netflix now. It's dubbed in English. I had the subtitles on. Weirdly, they didn't match. But it's you don't need subtitles on this. And it was dubbed pretty good. I didn't really notice it all that much, quite frankly. I think part of the reason the dialogue didn't match the subtitles was they changed it, they shortened things, and sometimes changed things in order to fit when people speaking Korean and they would stop speaking, that kind of thing. If you've ever seen like the old Speed Racer cartoons dubbed, there was always a problem with the characters either continuing talking and they would just have to make sounds even though the dialogue was shortened, or vice versa. They'd have to like extend it or jam in a bunch of information in a short period of time. This was very smooth. After a while, I just didn't even notice that it was dubbed, even though, it didn't really match the words. It didn't bother me because the dialogue would stop on a dime when the character stopped speaking almost every time. All right, so let's get down into the analysis, and there will be spoilers in this. So go watch it on Netflix if you want. So the first act, Jun-u gets up, and his family's gone for the day. He is a late riser, gamer, totally electronic guy. He's got like 1 million electronics in his room. And, he was a relatable character to me because I'm like that too. I know a lot of you are. And so I was like all about it. So when the zombies hit, it's almost like a natural disaster. Where he has to survive, and he's not very good at it. So the first thing that happens is, of course, his mother had left him a note to go get groceries, and he hadn't gotten out to do that yet. He kind of blows it off to play video games, which turns out to be a good thing because that's almost there after the zombies start, people start screaming and running around. The sort of start of the zombies was very creepy. Very creepy. These zombies would remember stuff that they did in life and could do things like open doors and windows, which made them formidable foes. They ran around. They did have the thing where they were all kind of like broken and their bones would crack when they would transform and everything. So they were formidable zombies. Like, you couldn't let your guard down around them. And then the interesting thing, though, is it focuses on Jun-u's quest to survive. And right away, he runs out of food just about almost immediately within a few days. And he's in the apartment for days and days. And then finally things start, getting tight. The electricity goes off and the food runs out. Or actually, I don't think the electricity actually went off, which was something that was interesting. The water did, but I don't think the electricity ever did, which was something they just had to gloss over, I guess, because Jun-u's whole shtick was that he was drone guy, and that comes in handy during the movie. The second act is when he meets the girl whose name now I forget. But so she is kind of the opposite. She is a camping girl, she's into climbing, and so she's got all this camping gear, and she's ready to go with the zombies. She's got an axe, and she's got a lantern, she's got extra food. And like him, she's trapped in the apartment, although they never say anything about her family. there's a great moment where they kind of bond, and they bond over the second act, and they both apparently tried to hang themselves but stopped and changed their minds, and that's a great moment. That's a great moment. It is a little bit. They do make Jun-u out to be a little dumber. She's a little smarter, but he's a little braver, right? She's afraid of heights, although she's forced to get over it too. But you see the transformation in Jun-u starting in the second act, because he gets braver. He starts foraging, although they call it farming in the subtitles, which I thought was weird. But he goes out and he finds some keys, and then he's able to get into another apartment and forage for some food. And although weirdly, he doesn't get the climbing equipment. And the one apartment he goes into, the guy's got tons of climbing equipment too. I'm wondering if that was an abandoned thread in the movie, that they didn't want Jun-u to scale out of the complex the way the girl does. Same way. They kind of did a weird cut in that Jun-u is watching the girl. They both decide, okay, we're gonna escape the apartment and get to the 8th floor, because and this is the third act, right? So the third act is about them deciding, okay, we got a plan now. We're going to get to the 8th floor, which is abandoned. It's not made clear which building that is, or why they don't just move up from where they are. But so she goes down and she's like a dynamo against the zombies. She's killing them. She's got I guess it's like a climbing thing. It almost looks like a saw on the end of a thing, but I guess it's a pickaxe. And she's just like, she's going through the zombies. And then he shows up to save her, but they don't really explain how he shimmies down. I don't know. I think he was on like at least the 4th floor, using a bunch of clothes tied to the balcony. So I'm wondering why they dropped the rope, which would have been probably the easier way to do it. But, he gets interrupted while he's in the apartment with the rope guy, and like doesn't really get the stuff. So, there's a lot of moments where they have to fight the zombies, but it's not, over the top. They just kind of do it, and then it's over, and then they move on. Another interesting moment is the firefighter, because they establish that, you could do things in life you kind of remember, and like the firefighter, obviously he can climb a rope, because they sometimes do that, and and that's an interesting scene too. And then the third act's all about this, 8th floor. They get there, and it was a little bit of a different ending for a zombie movie. It was kind of uplifting a bit, and I don't want to give the whole thing away, but I kind of just did. Because the whole movie, a lot of zombies movies, unless they're comedies, end with that kind of dreary we're all dead sort of moment, or that very few people survive. But I kind of like this take on it, because I really got invested in the characters, and I think that was an important choice in the filmmakers to do that, because it's really, I mean, when you kill characters off that people are invested in, understand they're going to be kind of upset at you, and you're going to have to not just kill them, but give us sort of a payoff as to why, or, if one of them sacrifices himself, that's a big deal. You don't just want to arbitrarily, kill everybody just like in every zombie movie. No. In this case, it was important, I think, that Jun-u live, because he made this promise to his dad that he was going to live, that he was going to survive. And that kind of bookend the whole movie with the last shot and the picture of him. So I really liked it. I liked the happy ending, even though at the end of the movie, they start talking, there was up to 50,000 people infected. And when you see how quickly the zombies attack people, and how quick and smart they are, I just immediately thought to myself, there'd be no way it'd be that few people in Korea. In South Korea, one of the most, it's pretty densely populated country in some places, and this was in a city apartment building, and you could see the city. They mentioned Seoul. I'm not sure which city it was supposed to take place in, but I just felt like that was kind of a low number. That was kind of a very low number that it would only be 50,000. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a well-constructed movie, and I think because they spent those first two acts building up the characters, and there was zombie stuff in both those acts too, but I felt like, it wasn't just zombies. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like one breathless jump to the next. It felt like you were really getting to know these people and their journey. And Jun-u's journey was an interesting one. It was one I could relate to as a gamer kid. A person who just uses a bunch of electronics and would have to survive under that. I'd be where he is. I'd be like, oh man, what am I going to do here? I don't have enough food or whatever. So yes, Alive is on Netflix. Check it out, and that's it. See you next time.